One more injury to report. Kyle Shanahan said that cornerback Renardo Green zinged his foot at Friday's practice, and he is therefore questionable for this wild card showdown against the Philadelphia Eagles. The 49ers have a chance in this game because of this man, Brock Purdy, getting onto the team plane for the long flight to Philadelphia, where some precipitation and high winds are expected this weekend. Purdy finished the 2025 regular season as the top ranked quarterback in the NFL. We've got our composite QB rankings. Purdy, number 2 in QBR, behind only Drake May, who I think should be the MVP favorite. Number 3 in EPA per play. Number 2 in completion percentage over expectation. Top 5 in bad throw percentage. Outperformed Drake May by quite a bit there. Only 11.6% of Purdy's throws fell into that bad category. A lot better than Matthew Stafford, who really languished. You could see the red under that fourth column for Matthew Stafford. 17.6% bad throw rate, ranked number 32. The pressure to sack ratio for Brock Purdy, also excellent. And air yards per reception included in this composite score put together by SF Data Niners. I've argued that air yards per reception should not be counted. I think that's more of a stylistic stat, but still, Brock Purdy ends up number 1. Jordan Love, number 2. Drake May, number 3. The 49ers have an elite quarterback, one of the best in the game. That has been established beyond any reasonable doubt. And despite the fact that they are at a big injury disadvantage against the Eagles, Philadelphia has essentially all of its starters ready to go. We'll see with Lane Johnson, who's technically questionable. But the 49ers certainly are not in that boat. But they have a quarterback who has carried this team when he's been healthy, or at least healthy enough to play this year. And that is Purdy. His legs probably will be of utmost importance against the Vic Fangio defense that has smothered many opponents this year, but has shown some cracks at times. Of course, Christian McCaffrey and the run game is going to be important as well. Of course, the status of Trent Williams is going to be monitored very closely from here until kickoff, but Trent is confident that he's going to play in this game. It all does come down to that quarterback position, though, as being the most important one on the field. Can Purdy play the type of composed point guard that he's going to need to play heading into the hostile territory of Philadelphia? Back in 2022, January 2023, Brock Purdy was a rookie, and he didn't get rid of the ball quite quickly enough when he tried to throw it to Brandon Ayuk on what might have been a house call, but Hassan Reddick, the Eagles pass rusher, got to him before he could release it. And that ended up turning into not only a disastrous turnover for the 49ers, but also a disastrous injury for San Francisco. Purdy tore his UCL. Purdy exited the game and then returned without the ability to throw the football downfield. He bounced back from that injury just fine. He turned into an MVP finalist the very next year, and now it is established that Purdy is one of the best quarterbacks in all of football. But it obviously did major damage to the 49ers in the moment. They were able to get some vengeance for what happened in that 2022 season. The next year, when they came in 2023 and absolutely walloped the Eagles. But things have changed since then, and the 49ers would certainly like to exact some vengeance in the postseason, especially now that Philadelphia's defense is much better than the 2023 unit that they just ran out of the building. Vic Fangio is going to play very sound defense. He's going to coordinate that defense. He's not actually going to play. He's got good players who he's presiding over on this Eagles team. A lot of them won the Super Bowl under Vic Fangio last year. And Vic Fangio defenses have typically had success against Kyle Shanahan offenses. In fact, I would say maybe the best Shanahan game against the Vic Fangio defense came in 2017 when Jimmy Garoppolo was the quarterback for the 49ers, making his first start with San Francisco against the Chicago Bears. But still, the 49ers managed only 5 field goals in that game. They won. 15 points was enough on that day at Soldier Field, and they picked up a lot of yards, and they moved the chains on third downs against that Vic Fangio defense. But it was the most success that Kyle Shanahan has had scheming against Vic. Now, though, he has the best quarterback that he's ever had. And he should have his left tackle in place. Ricky Pearsall, separation downfield, that remains to be determined. And if the 49ers don't have what it takes to truly stretch this Eagles defense, then it's going to have to be death by 1,000 paper cuts administered by Brock Purdy, Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, and the 49ers underneath pass game, because I think the 49ers are going to have to get rid of the ball quickly in this one. They're going to have to execute drives with their short passing game, and it may exclusively have to be that if they can't get the separation they need to downfield. Anyway, before the 49ers play the Eagles on Sunday at 1:30 Pacific, there's a lot of other playoff football happening. And I wanted to make a little bit of a viewing guide to set the table for this weekend. It opens up with the Panthers against the heavily favored Rams. The Rams, one of the 4 12-win teams set to play a road game this weekend. However, the twist here, even though the Rams are favored by 10.5 points, is that Carolina has already beaten the Rams at home this season. So I think that the Panthers have at least some belief that they could pull off what would be a monumental playoff upset. You can see it's a mismatch here at every single spot except for special teams in the upper right-hand corner. The Rams have a bad special teams unit, so bad that they even fired their coordinator after they lost a game because of special teams to the Seattle Seahawks last month. Carolina can find some greasy changes of possession, maybe some greasy scores with their 11th ranked special teams unit. Perhaps they could make this a football game. But the Rams have a very high-powered offense that is working against the number 23 ranked Carolina Panthers defense. And the Rams also have a top 7 defense, which is going to be working against Bryce Young and the 26th ranked Carolina offense. It's hard to believe that this Carolina team made the playoffs, but that's just how the playoff structure works. They did win a weak division, the NFC South. If the Panthers somehow find a way to win, though, it can tremendously benefit the 49ers if the 49ers can also find a way to notch an upset win in Philadelphia. Because if the Panthers win and the Green Bay Packers also win, and the Packers are 1-point favorites in the second game of today against the Chicago Bears, well, then it would set the 49ers up to head to Carolina next week. And I think the 49ers would be favored against the Panthers. In fact, they've already beaten the Panthers by 2 scores. So today is fascinating because you don't normally play the third NFC game of Wild Card Weekend. You usually have to wait to see who you're playing next because you play one of the first 2 games. The 49ers, though, they're in the spot where the stakes on Sunday are going to be clear because both the Rams-Panthers and the Packers-Bears games will be wrapped up by then. So anyway, the Bears are home underdogs to the Packers. And you could see the EPA tells us this is a relatively even game. If you take a look at offensive EPA per play, the Packers are number 4. Jordan Love will be returning. They're facing the number 21 defense in football. Offensively, the Chicago Bears are number 8. They face the number 22 defense. So if anything, you give a slight edge offense defense to the Packers. Special teams, though, the Bears unit has been better. These 2 teams have played twice recently. The Packers won at home. Then the Bears won at home. This game is in Chicago at Soldier Field. I do have to offer that the most recent matchup came without Micah Parsons for the Packers, and they found a way to have that game in the bag, seemingly, all the way until they couldn't recover an onside kick. And I guess that's where the Chicago special teams advantage comes into play. But even though Chicago might have a slight edge with the numbers, thanks to that special teams advantage, number 14 to number 25, it's easy to see why Green Bay is favored. You just look to watch how the last game played out. And the Bears needed a break that they probably won't get most of the time through that onside kick. So I think that Green Bay can win this game. I'm not sure that Carolina can beat the Rams, but if that does happen, then the 49ers could be set up to travel to Carolina with a win next week. And that also would keep the chances of another home game in the NFC playoffs alive. The only team that the 49ers could still host in the NFC playoffs would be the Green Bay Packers because Green Bay is seated lower than them. That couldn't happen until the NFC Championship game. But for that dream to remain intact, both the Packers and the Panthers would have to win later today. If that doesn't happen, then the 49ers probably head to Seattle or to LA. Chicago game would also still be on the table, depending on how the Green Bay Packers do. But the 49ers would only be able to get their dream matchup of the Carolina Panthers next round if Carolina did win this football game. And I don't think that it is likely at all. All right, you move on to Sunday. We've already previewed the 49ers and the Eagles. How about the game right before them? The prelude or the undercard to 49ers Eagles. It's a really damn good football game. The Buffalo Bills against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Buffalo is a favorite on the road, but this does not line up to be an easy game. In fact, I would argue that Jacksonville has been playing significantly better football than the Bills. The analytics like the offense-defense combination of Jacksonville much more. Plus, they're playing top 10 special teams, and the Bills most definitely are not. The Bills at number 27 in special teams. So, yes, Jacksonville might have a worse ranked offense. The Bills are number 3 in the league. Jacksonville's number 14. But Trevor Lawrence and company have turned things up in recent weeks, and their defense is better than Buffalo's, and they're better in the third phase of the game. And they've got a home field advantage in this football game as well by virtue of winning the AFC South. I'm actually picking Jacksonville to beat Buffalo in this game. I think that Jacksonville is the more well-rounded team, and I don't think that Josh Allen has been playing world-beating football this year, and I don't think that he's played world-beating football consistently in the postseason as well. So just take that for what it's worth if you're looking at Buffalo as a favorite over Jacksonville. The Chargers and the Patriots, that's going to round out Sunday. It's going to come after the 49ers game against the Eagles. New England is favored in this one, as they should be. They come into this as a team that was awesome throughout most of the regular season. It's too bad they couldn't beat the Raiders in week 1, but week 1 can offer up some weird results. It's Justin Herbert on one side, and it's Drake May, the probable MVP, the should-be MVP. I don't know what we call Drake May, but he's been playing good football. He's on the other side, helming the number 1 offense by EPA. The Chargers have been playing really good defense, and that's what they've needed to sustain this team with a lot of injuries up front, the lack of pass protection, a lack of mobility along the offensive line. That said, Justin Herbert has done his best to overcome some of the deficiencies up front. Jim Harbaugh is a really good football coach. I remember when Jim Harbaugh went into Gillette Stadium as the coach back in the 2012 season, and the 49ers beat Tom Brady and the Patriots on Sunday Night Football. Well, now Harbaugh has a chance to do it, helming the Chargers against New England. I do think that New England gets the job done. I'm going to pick the Patriots in this game, but I do think it's going to be very, very close. I think that the Chargers are going to put up one heck of a fight. Finally, Monday Night Football, the Texans and the Pittsburgh Steelers, who just barely skated by the Baltimore Ravens thanks to a missed field goal. Houston is a 3-point road favorite. Houston, one of the 4 12-win teams playing a road game. They have a monstrous defense. They're number 2 in EPA per play, behind only the Seattle Seahawks, whom the 49ers saw last week. But Houston's offense isn't very good. Number 22 in EPA per play. There are actually 2 worse offenses, the Chargers and the Carolina Panthers at number 23 and number 26. So, I mean, it is possible to survive. It has been possible to get this far without a great offense if you can play really well on the defensive phase of the game. And the Texans also have a good special teams unit. So I think that they can survive against Aaron Rodgers, who's no longer as mobile as he used to be because he's 42 years old. And I think they will survive on the road in this game. I like D'Amico Ryans and the Texans, but I do question their ability to push it much further than that. So my picks are Houston over Pittsburgh, the Patriots over the Chargers, the Jags over the Bills, the Green Bay Packers over the Chicago Bears, and the Rams over the Panthers. And if you're a 49ers fan and you're engaging in some wishful thinking, well, cheer for the Panthers over the Packers. And then do cheer for the lower seeded road team, but the favorite in the Packers over the Bears, because that would keep a home playoff game for the 49ers, the dream of that, alive. It would have to come in the NFC Championship game ahead of the Super Bowl, which will also be at Levi's, but that would have to be number 6 49ers against the number 7 Packers. All right, there's your update. Enjoy the day. We'll be back with roster moves later today from Philadelphia.